There is a revolution of a small, quieter percentage of people who are like, nah, it's game time. Like now or never. Like I got to get my shit together now because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, if I don't, it's just going to be infinitely harder to escape and be free. The quiet revolution is exactly what you're all a part of in this community, that you're a part of in network marketing, affiliate marketing, because what it is giving people an option to remove themselves from as many of these constructs, as many of these systems, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's geographic, political related things where you can say, I opt out, man. I'm not playing this game. I don't want to participate. And I'm not going to be coerced into doing things like, let's use COVID as an example. How many people realized how few freedoms they actually had when all of these mandates and things were being demanded of others? You have to do this or else you lose your job. You have to do this or you can't watch your kids, or your kids can't be in sports or activities or extra things. You can't go in the movie theater. You can't go into a restaurant. All of a sudden, all these restrictions started to get put onto people. And a lot of people kind of gave in and said, I don't believe in this. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't think it's healthy or good for me or my family. But you're taking so much away from me that I'll say yes and go ahead with it just so I can have my life back. Now, these people are the ones that were stuck in all the systems. They were the ones in public education, regular 9 to 5 jobs, had a boss, had their livelihoods at risk, willing to lose everything. And so very quickly people realize, well, I don't really have that much freedom of choice after all. Yeah, I thought I did, but all of a sudden I don't. So then there's people inside of our community, inside of GPM, who were in a position financially with their time, with their location to basically opt out of participating, things that didn't feel right, and they were okay. They were able to pay their bills. They were able to go travel. They left Canada or left certain countries that had stronger rules and restrictions for a time. Some people left a few months. I left for can't remember exactly how long it was. I think it was like 2 months to Mexico during the middle of that stuff. And I was just like, I'm out. I'm not doing none of this. You can't tell me what to do. I make my own decisions. So there's a level of quiet revolution that can take place when we become sovereign individuals, when we can escape the matrix and we can eventually, dedicate certain our time, our money to volunteer, to give back to charities or nonprofits to help people that are affected by the things that are going on in this world. If we really wanted to go in that direction, we have the ability to do that, but not until you've taken care of yourself and your family first. It is the central starting place that if you are financially strapped, can barely pay the bills, there's not that much extra you can give. Does that make sense? Because you're just barely surviving. And that's why these people that are so evil, doing such disgusting, corruptible things that it's hard to put it into words, continue to get away with it because they have the power in all these different ways. Everybody seems to be in on it, which is so messed up. But at the same time, there's like a world and a reality within the reality where so many people don't need to necessarily participate by simply learning a set of skills and a set of mindset to exit from this and make it like almost like living in a private way in a public system, if that makes sense. And so I just wanted to quickly touch on this, is that over the years since 2003, there's been all these different things that have happened, that there's this massive uproar and this huge division, and people are arguing on the internet, who's right, who's wrong, what should be done. And essentially it's taking away their energy, their life force, their ability to create true results. Because if you've ever been in this scenario that I'm describing, time goes by so fast. Like if you went down the rabbit hole at any point, it went from like 0 to your whole day real quick, right? You know what I'm talking about? Because I've been there many times and it's messed up. Like I'm just like, I'm more aware of it now. And it's weird because I purposely don't want to know. Back in the day, I wanted to know everything, all the details, all the latest scoop, the insider stuff, the cutting edge conspiracy. I wanted to know everything, but it consumed all of me. And so I got no results. I was the brokest I ever was. I was the unhappiest I ever was. I was cynical. I was a victim. I really had all of the symptoms of just feeling sort of helpless and hopeless. Like, what's the point? Literally, like, that's like one level down from suicidal. That's how close I was. It was like one tiny notch below being like, I'm just ending it right here. What the fuck's the point? I was right there, one level down. And then I kind of went to myself, I'm like, how is this focusing on anything that's positive? How am I adding anything positive to the world by being like this? I'm not. How am I helping me or my family by being like this? I'm not. How am I focusing on the things that I can control versus being so upset by being helpless that I feel like I can't do anything to change how fucked up the world is in certain ways? See what I'm saying? So I took control back and I said, look, I may not be able to do this or do that or change this or change that. But what I can do is become a better version of myself. I can be a better leader. I can make a difference. I can help people escape the rat race and the systems that hold people trapped, like modern day slavery. And since this is the part that's so interesting. Since that, if we were to try to quantify impact, or if someone's arguing on the internet about who's right and who's wrong, and we just kind of bring it back for a second and go, all right, well, what have you actually done to make a difference? What have you actually done to help anybody? A lot of the time they're like, well, I haven't done anything yet, but rah, 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 I will, this kind of shit. And it's like, okay, I get it. But in our situation, so from 2003 to about 2010, 7 years, I was the most angriest guy who was like, oh, everyone's out to get me and all this stuff. And I had literally helped nobody. I actually probably ruined people's days by trying to fill them in on the latest conspiracy stuff that then ruined their attitude, ruined their mood, made them depressed. And that was my way of giving back, is by ruining everybody's fucking day. It's kind of weird. But on the flip side, I said, you know what? Let me focus on the things I can control. And, over the last decade, 12, 13 years, we've literally been responsible for setting people free. We were responsible during the COVID years of people not giving in to the mandates and not feeling like they got manipulated because I made that shift. Does that make sense? So I'm not trying to take credit for anything. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, if we focus on just like this darkness that is there, then we're not going to make a difference in the light. And collectively, this quiet revolution is taking place by every single person who basically opts out and says, I have a better way. I have a community of people that are positive. They're part of the good and the light in the world. They want to help others. All of you here have big hearts because that's the only reason why you can ever do a business like this. If you only care about yourself, you will never succeed in this business. You have to be considerate of others, be compassionate, which is the foundation of an addict, and really make it about others and helping others see what's possible. And that's kind of the theme of a lot of the questions that were brought for this call today, is sort of how you personally can make a difference, how your story matters, how your personal circumstances, whatever they may be right now today, they're perfectly fine. They're happening for you exactly how they should in this moment. You don't have to be someone you're not. You don't have to be somewhere you're not. You don't have to be at a income or rank or level that you're not in order to win, in order to succeed. You are exactly where you are meant to be, but you got to learn how to be able to package that and share it in a way that gets through to other people. And that's what we're going to be talking more about today, because often what I find is that it's the same thing as happiness, right? People say, I'll be happy when. What about being happy now? Or I'll start saving my money when. I'll start investing my money when. What about doing it now? And it may be a very, very small amount. Like, you might go to your wallet right now and take out a $1 bill or a $1 coin and put it in your investment jar or your savings jar. It's still doing it. That's still better than not doing it. Just the act of doing it makes sense. Or I'm overweight and I'm insecure and I can't work out and I don't know what's going on in the gym. So I'm going to work out when I lose 50 pounds or when whatever. It's like, just go for a walk. Literally walk down the street, touch the stop sign, walk back, you did something. So this is where a lot of people get hung up on, is like, I'm not ready yet. I will when. It's like, what can you literally do right now in this moment, right? And if you get into that mentality, you might start going, it feels really good to put $1 into the investment jar every day. Like, wow, it's just $1. It would have probably spent it on something silly anyways. So these are simple things that we're going to discuss as we get into some of the specific questions that you guys asked for this call, which I'm excited for, because so many of you are just right there, but you're thinking like you need a different recipe, instead of the recipe you have, or you need to be someplace else before things start to work, or you're comparing yourself to me or others or whatever. And that gap between where you are at the moment and where you think you need to be successful, that gap is what we need to eliminate, because you're actually in the perfect place right now. And your story whatever you're dealing with, your circumstances, your challenges, your obstacles, the fears you have, the things keeping you up at night, all of that is relevant to someone who's watching or listening to you right now. Like it's exactly the perfect message that needs to be shared, right? And so for myself, I was always hiding from the things that were the hardest parts of my life before I did this type of business. Because in the regular work world, you're not supposed to bring your problems to the job, right? We know this. It's like put on a smile, everything's going to be okay. Be happy for all the customers or whatever you do for work and leave your problems at home. We don't want to hear about it. Wipe that shit off your face and put a smile on. And so people have actually learned how to wear a mask. They've learned how to be fake. They've learned how to not be authentic because that's kind of what's expected out there. And you probably feel it if you go out in public to some store and you're dealing with some customer service representative and you're like, you're not happy at all, but you're pretending you are. This is weird. This is kind of awkward. Like I just want my oil change done and here's my credit card. This is awkward. So it's like a weird thing that happens where people are like, if you really get to learn how to read people, you'll notice how they're like super unhappy, but they're just pretending they're happy. And like that's most people. It's messed up. But in this business, your pain becomes your message. Your ability to describe why you are pursuing a type of business such as this one ends up being how you connect, right? Most of you are talking about the outcome that is possible from a business like this. Like, oh, you can make this much per sale and you can travel and you can quit your job. These are all outcomes. This is like where you're going to be. But what about talking about what brought you to the realization that this is what you wanted to do? What were the thoughts in your head that led you up until you made the decision to do this business? Like what happened before you invested in the products, before you joined the community? Because there's an entire like chapter of your life where you started to notice things that were not okay anymore. Like you started to notice like you got your paycheck and half of it was taken by the government and it just didn't sit right with you. See what I'm saying? Or, you realize you're so busy and you're running from one thing to the other. And then all of a sudden one day it just hits you like, I spend 2 hours a day in traffic. I really wish those 2 hours were mine to do something that I actually want to do, like go to the gym, be with my kids, do something I enjoy, but I'm stuck in the car for 2 hours. This isn't okay anymore. So all of you had this realization over time, and maybe you're not going back and connecting with that chapter of your story to be like, this is what actually brought me to this choice, right? So that's an important thing for you to remember. What was all that stuff going on for you? The next thing is around your decision-making process. This is also very powerful to help someone else with their decisions. How did you maybe you made an actual physical list like on a piece of paper, pros and cons or reasons why I should do this, reasons why I shouldn't do this. Maybe you did that, or maybe you just did it mentally. Like you just thought it through, like, these are all the best case scenario. If I went ahead with this, and these are the things that like is the risk, or like, what if it doesn't work out? Then what will happen? And all of us do this. It's like a logical equation in our brains that makes us either take the action or, change our mind and not do something. So for you, all of you had a decision-making process that led you to saying yes and getting started. What was that? Walk me through it as if I don't know how to think. Like my brain doesn't work. Teach me how to think. Imagine how powerful that is where you're like, yeah, and then I was talking myself out of it because of this reason and that reason, and I was afraid what my parents would think or whatever is true for you, right? And then all of a sudden I realized, but if I don't do it, then what? Like, where am I going to be in 5 years? So these are all like thoughts you've had with yourself, conversations you've had with yourself, that if you can articulate them, it kind of makes where you're at in the business completely irrelevant because it brought you to the point of making a choice for change. And that choice for change is what most people actually need. They don't need the money and the outcome and the rank and the all that yet. That comes later. What they need is help with where they're at right now and then guiding them to the process of like, this is what got me to decide I'm ready to make a change. And all of you can probably attest to this personally on an individual level when we have this question that I ask all the time. If I was to give back the money that you invested into this business, into these products, and you had to go back to the person you were when you first started, would you take that deal? Nobody says yes. So what does that actually mean if we think about it? It means that the moment of decision to change was worth the investment because you then began this conscious thing of like, I want to be better. I want to understand myself more. I want to learn these skills. I want to go back into like a growth mindset of learning, of improving, of like being honest, being transparent, all these things that most of us were masking for a long time before we did this business, because that's kind of what was expected of us. It was like fake it, shut up, don't complain, go through the motions, same thing every day, 9 to 5, get your check, pay your bills. It's so like the same shit. And then one day we're like, no. So we kind of choose the more difficult thing because being comfortable is way easier than everything we're doing, right? This is hard. This is hard to like look in the mirror and be like, I'm not really happy with this part of who I am. I got to do better. I got to become better. That's not easy to do. But yet all of us made the conscious choice of like, this is better than the alternative. So helping someone to that point is the most like powerful skill we could have from a point of influence and persuasion. And then once they've made that choice, then all of a sudden they go through the door to the other side and it's like, now what's possible? Then all of a sudden the compensation plan, the commissions, the rank advancements, the legacy, the travel, the quitting, all of a sudden that becomes more important because it sets like a milestone or a goalpost. Like this is what I'm aiming for. But none of that matters unless you've made the choice for change first. Does this make sense for you guys? So if you can help someone like relate with their thinking because they're most likely humming and hawing watching you. That's the thing. One day they're like, I should reach out. The next day they're like, nah. Next day they're like, oh, this sounds good. Next day they're like, nah. And most likely you all did that at some point with whoever you bought from. You know what I mean? Like a lot of you were watching for a while before you said yes. Am I right? I don't know many people who saw one ad and clicked one button and then dropped 20 grand in like an afternoon and was like, woo, I'm in. Like, I don't know too many people like this. It was like the seed was planted, then you like maybe checked out their profile, then you followed along, then maybe you saw the ad a bunch of times and you watched the web class, then you thought, you know what I mean? Most people, it kind of took some time. Maybe you had a call, then you waited a while, then you had another call, then you followed up, then you watched the person. Like I see every day on my social media, people, I watched them for 12 months. I did this for that, like, quite some time. So just imagine how many people are watching your stuff in the same scenario of like watching, humming, hawing, not sure how to decide, not sure if it's right for them. Help them think, help them break it down. Talk about your process that led you to essentially begin instead of just talking about where everybody can get to in 3 years after they begin. That's such a big gap. Is like 6 to 12 months before deciding, and then another 2, 3 years of what work, right? And then it's like, then all of a sudden you're here in this magical destination. So we're like, so there's a 4 year gap of like, what happened? Like, did you think about stuff? What did it, So share that story of you in hindsight as if you're trying to just think out loud. It makes a really big difference. Anyways, I digress, but I think that we are living in a time where there's always going to be these intense, dramatic, polarizing topics all over the world in different ways. And it's so easy to get caught up in that and then kind of freeze. Like, you just freeze, you don't really take action, you don't get ahead, you kind of contemplate. Like, here's another one real quick before I get into the questions. A lot of people right now are beginning to fall in this trap of robots are going to rule the world, AI is going to take over, and everyone's just going to get universal basic income, and we're all just going to like not have to work, and everyone's going to get paid. So everyone's starting to fall into this trap of like, what's the point? Like, why am I even trying? Why am I even trying to grow this business? Robots are eventually going to rule over ourselves. We're just going to be these little bitches to the robots, bowing down at their little metallic feet. And like, what's the point of doing anything? And this is subconsciously deep down starting to become a thing where they're like, I'm not even going to try. That's fucked up if you think about it. So whether it's conspiracies, robots, AIs, the uncertainty of the future, what's coming around the corner in 1 year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and somehow interpreting that as I won't even bother is pretty crazy to think. Like, how much easier can it get to like control the population of a bunch of people who are just like, nah, like, don't even bother. So don't let that be you, and don't let that be your people. Like, there is going to be this other alternative, positive reality that also happens for a percentage of humanity. I'm not saying everybody's going to be good. I think a lot of people will be negatively affected, but it's also because of their mindset. Like, that surrender, give up, be a quitter, be a victim mentality is growing in the masses, but also there is a revolution of a small, quieter percentage of people who are like, no, it's game time. Like, now or never. Like, I got to get my shit together now, because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, if I don't, it's just going to be infinitely harder to escape and be free. So I think like you guys all fit into that camp of it's time to go harder than ever. It's time to be more focused than ever. Just be aware that everything is kind of working against you with technology, with the media, with inflation, with social media. Like it's all trying to keep you small. So you have to be hyper aware to not fall into that influence in a negative way. And I'm not saying it's easy, but just recognize if that's you, get your like 10, 15 minutes of the latest, trending stuff. If you really want to check that thing stuff out, 10, 15 minutes, get a little browse. I mean, these days you don't even know what's true or real anyways, right? Like it's 99% is fabricated, made up bullshit on the internet anyways. Like hard to know what is actually true. So there's that. So here we are, concerning ourselves with stuff that we don't even can't even verify 100% if it's real. And what are we choosing to believe and not believe is a whole nother conversation of discernment that is extra difficult. So when we bring it back to the roots of what truly matters, our health, our family, our faith, our finances, our futures, our goals, then like we can control that stuff. So just get back to it. You know what I mean? Get back to it and be a messenger of positivity to other people that you're influencing through your social networks, where if they're getting caught up in the negativity and their doom and gloom and all this kind of thing, you can kind of get them back on track and be like, don't fall into this trap. It's bullshit. And then now they look at you and respect you as a leader for helping them kind of avoid this inevitable trap so many people are falling into. All right. Anyway, I digress. I'm done. Hopefully that was helpful.